Hey everybody, it's Joe Trippi, and welcome back to That Trippi Show with my co-host Alex Ashlow. This week, remember that murder budget that passed? What are Democrats supposed to be doing about it? How do we balance campaigning on things like Project 2026 with things we know work, like Epstein, when voters are distracted or not paying attention? We get into that and more of your questions. Alex, where should we get started?
So I know we've spent the last couple of weeks talking about Epstein, and we are going to talk more about it because we have to repeat too. But Joe, there's other stuff going on, and a lot of our listeners want to know how we balance all of it. So, look, this is a big week for economic news. A lot of people are saying this is kind of the first indicators of whether all these tariffs are actually working or not. Fed voted to hold interest rates steady. Trump announced an EU tariff rate deal. We record this on Thursday, so Friday, August 1st is one of those big, and I'm using quote fingers here for visual media, deadlines that he imposed on all these tariff negotiations. So, Joe, has the economy stabilized at all since the initial chaos? Does it even matter? And what is going to happen this week?
Well, no, first Epstein. It's the one thing that seems to really have eroded his support, even MAGA voters are having issues, and there's the division in his base, and that's important. It's not necessarily like we, are hanging on every, economic number that comes out and ready to, to see what it says and react to it. The rest of the electorate writ large knows that cost of living's going up and they're not really paying attention to anything. And what they are paying attention to is the cover up and the corruption of Epstein. So, look, the Fed vote, they had two dissenting governors. Of course, it was the two Trumpies. It's the first time there's ever been a dissent vote in 30 years, I think.
Two of them, yeah.
Yeah. And it's, the fact of the matter is, it's like, you got to be careful what you wish for because the more pressure they put on the Fed, I think the more markets are going to react and it won't be good. So I'm not, again, it's all about feeding feeding that he's doing something about it. He's going to beat up the Fed to lower prices. Yeah, right. It's not going to.
You're not doing that if things are going well.
And maybe the markets will get skittish, but betting on what Trump is going to do, that's a fool's errand anyway. So, the numbers this week, I don't think
They're fine. They're not great. They're not what Trump wants to see.
Inflation went up. Home sales are declining. 147,000 jobs added, which isn't great. But Biden had great jobs numbers, great, a lot of really good numbers. But the reality is that America didn't feel it. All they felt was egg prices and oil prices, gas prices at the pump. And they're still feeling it and they're still going up. And so what you got was you voted for Trump because he was going to, end the war in Ukraine on day one. He was going to get peace in the Middle East. Prices were going to come down. And instead, and he was going to get rid of all the corruption and particularly make sure you understood who was behind all the Epstein stuff and who was out there. And they sold all that to his base too. And it turns out, oh no, none of the other stuff happened. And all you got was this lousy cover up of Epstein, probably because Trump's in the files. So I think you're starting to see real fractures in the coalition. We've seen that all along, as, with Musk and others, but it's starting to really accelerate. And I think, the fact is that more people are paying attention to Epstein than they're paying attention to the budget or any of these things. I mean, it turns out 40% of Americans say they haven't heard about the budget, Bill. I mean, seriously.
Right. That is a crazy high number. I mean, I believe it given everything that's going on. Because remember, and we talked about this a little bit last week. We've written about it. People don't really watch the news. I mean, news viewership is declining. People are not seeking out news. They're staying in their bubbles. They're listening to whatever influencers they follow. So this gets to the whole echo chamber we've been talking about. People are just posting about Epstein a lot. So you're not
But
hearing the same amount of economic news, and people are not just like waking up and checking, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, or like Googling their own economic numbers. It's just not
no,
how
but
people are consuming things.
but even Fox does the big beautiful bill, right? And 40% of Americans haven't heard about it. I mean, even like being the big beautiful thing, they haven't heard it. 40% haven't heard about it. And so, and that is because cable, broadcast, all of it, newspapers, as you say, all declining and fragmented. And the only thing that's driving anything is memes and social media posts. And, which, we talked about this, I think, on a previous show about the water cooler, but the water cooler is now social, is unfortunately for all of us being amplified by bots and algorithms on X and other places. And it's the buzz of Epstein, which frankly are being carried by both MAGA voters and a lot of people who just think that the American people deserve the truth, that this is clearly a cover up. And so for once, you sort of have everybody around the water cooler, no matter who they are, what party, what tribe they're in, talking about Epstein, arguing about it, about one thing. And what's crazy about that, not crazy, but I think is important for everybody to understand is since he came down the escalator, most weeks, the thing that we all talked about in that stupid, crazy social network water cooler being amplified by X and Zuckerberg and Elon and algorithms and Russians and anybody else who wanted to push the divisive tribal stuff, Trump Trump ran that. I mean, he controlled it. He and his poison, propaganda networks, they decided what the topic was, and everybody else fell for it. Democrats, all of us would debate or argue about whatever the thing the shiny object Trump had laid out there for everybody as bait. And for the first time, that water cooler is out of Trump's control. It's all of us talking and everybody, new facts, new things, new arguments about Epstein, about sexual assaults on underage women,
So
where Trump's saying that Epstein stole one of his people at Mar-a-Lago.
yeah, the White House actually put that out this week, which is insane that they put out that audio.
I mean, absolutely insane. Hey, I don't know what Epstein was doing, but he stole somebody from me after I already knew what he was doing because this was after the fact. So anyway,
I want to get to a couple of our listener questions about how we do balance all this. This is from Chris in Texas. Are Democrats actually winning on Epstein? How do we balance staying on something that clearly has Trump rattled, which you've talked about, versus other messages that win?
Well, I mean, first of all, it hasn't rattled. Second of all, look at his favorable numbers. I mean, today, with independents, he has collapsed to a 31% approval. 31. Over 50% of the American people, I saw this in a Zogby poll, it came out yesterday or today. A majority of the American people now say they're ashamed that Donald Trump is their president. We're not talking about strongly unfavorable. We're talking about a majority of the American people say they are ashamed that Donald Trump is their president, which is, by the way, a big move. Now, I don't know about you, but there was a lot of stuff that might have made people ashamed, or you would have hoped would have made them ashamed of Donald Trump being their president weeks ago, months ago. And there were, but it wasn't anywhere near 50%. It's now over 50%. And the only thing I know that's happened, that seems to be what's created that is Trump and the cover up of Epstein and the Epstein files and refusing to release them, and kind of, everybody's sort of getting it, and particularly independents. I mean, you and I have seen polling now and recently in a southern state that was just incredible, like a 32% move among independent voters in the South, in a southern state, away from Trump Republican candidates. They have issues with Democrats, these independent voters, but they've decided they're not voting for a Republican in 2026. I mean, by big. I mean, we're talking in the 60s. And they say point blank they would, over their dead body, would they vote for a Republican? I mean, a candidate. So it's definitely having an effect. So then the question is, how do you talk about the other issues? And it's how I started this. Yeah, look, the GDP comes out, it's not that great, or job numbers come out and they're not that great. And it's, look, he promised us that on day one he was going to lower, but he's so distracted by covering up Epstein that he can't, that
Yeah.
they can't do, that, and so you're paying the price both ways.
The message machine is utterly broken. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing that I feel like we might have gotten sucked into a trap with last year was there were so many good macro numbers out there for the economy. Everything was pointing that things are moving in the right direction. And they were just so consistent on you're getting screwed. You're getting
Right,
screwed.
which is why you're right, because you've been saying this. The winning Epstein message is, it's not that Trump is on the list. It's that cover up is to benefit the rich and powerful, and Trump is just another one of them. And the Republicans are all going along with it and joining the cover up to benefit
it's
the rich and powerful. While you get
year, right?
while you get stuck
screwed
with the bill. We're all getting screwed. Prices are still going up. The market's going up. Why? Because it's a swamp. They know.
And the difference is those record highs that were happening under Biden. And Democrats were right to trumpet it, but it's very clear that they missed a trick, right? It's okay. Why is the market going up? The people that the market going up is benefiting are the same people that are working the cover up. They're part of the rich. They're part of the powerful. I mean, and the data backs this up too.
Well, they're the same people who are happy as hell that the EPA is being wiped out so they can keep polluting. They can do your water, your air, everything is, they're going to make a bundle because there's no one watching them anymore, except the states can get involved. That's the big issue here. But my point is, he's not draining the swamp. He's taking the handcuffs off the swamp, benefiting the rich and powerful, which, by the way, are going to let them really jam us on prices. Because there's nothing, there's nobody in the government being a watchdog over price gouging or any of that stuff. So this is part of what the whole cover up is about. It's not so much that Trump is on the list, but it's again that who else? Look, it's basically whoever the hell's on that list, whoever's hell's in those files. Let the chips fall where they may. And let justice be done. And if Trump's on it, fine. I mean, let's get to it. And if he's not, what the hell are they afraid of? No, even if he's not on it, what are they covering up? The other rich and powerful that are on the damn thing that he said he would expose, that his FBI and his Justice Department said they would expose. Instead, no, there's nothing to see here. And by the way, even his own MAGA supporters, plenty of them don't believe that. They know that it's bullshit.
We got a couple more Epstein questions. I might save for a future pod, but this one was good from Sally in Oklahoma. Joe, how do we know Democrats are actually winning on Epstein? I keep hearing you say it over and over that they are winning and winning bigly, if we want to steal a word from Trump. But how can we actually feel it? And when do we really know that that's happening?
Like I said, when you have a majority of the American people saying that they're ashamed that Donald Trump's their president, we're not talking about 37, 38 approval rating versus 60, 58% disapproval, and those numbers are real too. We're talking about people saying they're ashamed that he's their president. When you're over that, and by the way, that's the thing that these Republicans in these battleground districts are doing. They're protecting a guy who a majority of people in the country, and probably close to that in their district, are ashamed that Donald Trump's their president and that no one's doing a whole lot about it. particularly Republicans in the House and the Senate. So how do you know that we're winning? No, I don't know that Democrats are winning on it, but Donald Trump and the Republicans are getting their ass kicked on it. Not because of, by the way, a whole lot of things Democrats have done about it. I mean, in terms of taking him to it, take it to him, although there are signs of that happening now with bills and stuff with Ro Khanna and others with bills to get to, to sort of force it. But the reality is, no, this is a mess they created, and it's coming back with full force. And by the way, it's the same thing they're doing to fight it. So what do? They tell you, they basically start telling their base that we're going to, and go after Obama. He's a traitor. We're going to put him on the docket. And the same conspiracy theorists who believe the garbage. Who believe that Hillary, Comey, and Obama somehow faked putting Trump on the list, but then for some reason never released it or charged him. That's interesting. Way to go. But my point is, no, this is them. What Democrats need to do is to, as you said, Alex, you take it to them on the other issues, the economy, healthcare, but at all times, or at least right now, remind them that failure on, that those cuts on Medicaid are all happening. Rural hospitals are going to close, and all you got was a cover-up of who helped Epstein. How did Epstein assault basically sexual assaults on underage women, with many people in power being involved, being on his planes and all that stuff, and including Donald Trump. And still to this day, your Medicaid's been cut, your rural hospitals are shutting down. And instead of draining and getting rid of the corruption, you're realizing he's just as corrupt, just as it only out. He's not out to expose anybody else. He just wants to bury anything that would expose him as corrupt, depraved, and his shameless behavior. And I think that's adding to what people already kind of knew. I mean, they see what he's doing on immigration. They see what he's doing with the mass deportations, with ICE and everything. And they're realizing, no, it's not like this is, it's different. It's really fascinating because the question they asked in the Zogby poll, I think, used the word ashamed. And that, it'd be really interesting. I'm sure if they said, do you hate this individual, or you are ashamed of this individual, or do you approve of this individual? Those are going to get you different reactions. But when the majority of them, I can't recall ever I don't even remember under Nixon or any president's worst day that a majority of Americans were saying they were ashamed that he was their president. That tells you right there. And so then all these people who say, no, this Epstein thing, let's get off of it. It's boring, or, everybody's heard about it. Look, remember, 40% haven't heard about the economic bill. Again, remember, repeat. That's what they do. That's what we don't do. We always get them. We always have them in our sights with the right policy or the right argument. And then we put it out there once or twice or for a week.
And then we get bored, we move on.
We get bored because we want to give people new and more facts. No, nobody's getting any facts unless you keep feeding it to them over and over again. And the one thing the water cooler is really interested in is Epstein. And so remember the other rule. You either have to create attention, or you have to be talking about what people are paying attention to. And so as much as you might want them to pay attention to whatever economic news is happening right now, the thing that they are paying attention to is Epstein. So keep talking about that and tie your other arguments to Epstein. to why, while he's covering that up, look what's happening to our grocery bills. While he's covering up Epstein, look at what's happening to this. Look at this rural hospital shutdown. Why? Because he's too busy covering up for Epstein. And why are they shutting down the hospitals? Because it's going to help the powerful lobbies who want the pharma, healthcare companies, everybody. They're doing their bidding. That's why. And so it's tying it all to that. And Epstein is an example of the rich and powerful shoveling stuff under the rug. And now who's doing it? The guy who promised to expose everything that was under the rug. Oh, wait, but he's under there too. Well, that's a problem. And that's why you got to keep talking about it. Corruption in the end may be the thing that finally gets him, because this one is clear what he's doing. And like I said, you start looking at these numbers, he's fallen, I think, in that question where they said, are you proud he's your president, or are you ashamed he's your president? Something like only 71% of Republicans, 71% of Republicans said they were proud that Trump was their president. In a poll that showed a majority of Americans are ashamed of him. So, and by the way, that's eroded. That was like 80 something percent just a few weeks ago of Republicans who were proud he was their president. This is doing real and severe damage. I think the Zogby called it a catastrophic collapse is what we're starting to see. Now, we got to keep that pressure on, because he's going to come up with 5 other distractions to try to drag people away from from this and anything else that comes up.
Joe, I know we had more to get to today, but we're just about out of time. We got plenty more to talk about next week. I think that's a great place for us to wrap today.
Thanks, Alex. And thanks, everyone, for listening to that Trippi show. Make sure to join us at says.us, a civil social network for real human beings, where I think we are really starting to grow something that could be really grow and become powerful as we enter 2026. But we need all your help to build it. So please go to says.us, go to your Android, Google, or Apple App Store, tell your friends, and join us. I apologize. I had a mic issue evidently through at some point in this podcast. So hopefully you get to hear most of it. This podcast will always be free and is part of Lincoln Square. So check out the latest at lincolnsquare.media. Also, if you're listening to this episode on YouTube, please like and subscribe to get alerts when we post the next episode. You can always send us a question to thattrippishow@gmail.com, or leave us a question in a review on iTunes. We'll see you next week.